Hi all, Gridworks here again. Hope everyone's well. So I wanted to put another video together from Google Earth, and this time I wanted to show you some of the places in our local area that we have found. They're totally invisible unless you use dowsing rods. Some of these are featured on my other video, but this gives you an idea of how in your local area there's really a lot going on. So there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 different major energy features within a 20-mile area of where I live, which is more than you'd expect, I would imagine. So you don't have to go all the way to Stonehenge or Sedona to find these things. They're right on your doorstep if you know where to look. So if you look at some of my previous videos about vortex trees or visible circles on the grass, that will give you clues as to where these are. But the best way to find them is to use a dowsing rod, and it will take you right to the center of them. You can usually feel the difference as well once you have spent time discerning the difference between not being in a vortex and being in one. You can tell a difference in the energy. It's subtle, but you can tell it once you've been doing it long enough. So anyway, here are some of the vortexes that we've discovered. This one here is probably the largest one we've discovered, and as I've mentioned on a previous video, you can see the actual circular shape that goes around about it. Much clearer in the Bing satellite image, especially this edge here. You can actually see a double edge on it. And then we have its counterpart. Vortexes tend to have a male and a female counterpart. This is the female vortex. It's healing. Energy goes into the earth. You could call it prana or cosmic energy, but essentially this is like an inpouring on a female vortex, and an outpouring of energy, which presumably is a mixture of earth energy and the cosmic energy which has come in through this route. This is an outpouring, so the feeling is different. And as I've mentioned before, the ground that you'll find around each one will be very different as well. The trees here struggle a bit because energy has literally been taken out from the surrounding landscape and going into the earth, whereas over here the landscape is much more lush. So this is the male vortex. It's a very rocky outcrop under these trees here. You can't see it here, but there's actually a very large set of rocks or a rock outcrop that pokes out of the ground, and the trees are growing on top of that. Very interesting. Let's have a look at Hoe Plan Muir. There's a much more detailed video on this. You can see there are shapes in the ground here. If I put the overlay on, you'll be able to have, well, this is the Bing. You can see the shapes a lot clearer now. Now if I put the actual highlighting on, you can see now this dowsed to be a long barrow, and here we discovered a stone circle with buried stones. This is an original, or it's an actual feature marked on the maps. It's called a fort. So what else did we discover? Up on Campbellton Hill, which is near Hunterston Power Station. Doesn't look like much, and we came up here and found round about here we found what we call a power place. A power place is nodes surrounding a central vortex. So typically you may have seen, like for example Stonehenge. Stonehenge has nodes marked by the outer trilithons, and inside there's the altar stone, which is presumably over a vortex. I haven't dowsed that, so I couldn't confirm that. But whenever we find these power places That's the configuration. Usually the vortex is slightly off center, and usually it's male. And the stones of the stone circle mark the node, which is a crossing point of female and male earth energies. Find more just over the road at Berryhill. There are actually two power places here. There's one round about here and another one over here. Again, we found them by dowsing. We've actually marked out the ground so we could take a photograph of it. I think that's in one of my other videos. Now shoot over to Diamond Hill over near Fairley. Again, not much to see from above, but this is quite a conical hill here. The whole area is hilly. There's a huge hill here called Cane Hill, and I've done a video on the quarry that lies here, but this is a distinct hill, and there's a power place sitting right there. It has 8 or 9 nodes surrounding the vortex. We find the same over in Tarbert Hill. In fact, Tarbert Hill has 2 power places, one round about here and one over here, and this is a very large stone, huge. She calls herself Meg, M-E-G-H, and she's been there for a long time. So there's a lot going on these hills in Ayrshire. What we also find in the Ayrshire landscape are mounts, which are unnatural mounds or tumps or mumps or mounds or bumps in the landscape. This one, you can see it's quite circular, and actually it does mark another vortex, and it also has trees around it, very similar to Ash Grove Mount over in Kilwinning. This one is quite near Crosby Castle and Towers and Caravan Park. There's actually another circular mount here. It's not visible at all from above, but you can see it from the ground. It's called, I forget the name of it, but it's, yeah, I can't remember, but it's another mount, and it dowsed out to have a vortex in it as well. So again, we see some other vortices we discovered over in Loch Winnock in Renfrewshire, so we're not in Ayrshire anymore. We discovered a power place here, surrounded by 2 trees, and marked out with about 10 nodes with a vortex in the middle. This is the female vortex here, not circular, but every single tree rings the area, and there's a marsh in the middle here. With the female vortex, you could actually feel the energy here when you walked in. Next to it you have a very large male vortex, and this edge here is actually a very steep gorge, cliff or ravine, and additionally inside the male vortex under the trees is a lot of rocky ground, huge rocks. There's some other male vortices here. You can't see it as well, but you might be able to see the shadow there. This is a crag, and this is quite rocky and dry up here, very typical for a male vortex area. So you have the marshy area here and the dry area here. We also discovered another vortex at the back of Dalry on the Fairley moors, and interestingly there's some dual line in the landscape here. We're not sure if this was fencing, but it's, you know, there's nothing here. This is a moor, but on my previous video with vortex trees, there's a number of vortex trees around here, and again, as I say, it dowsed out to be a female vortex. It's quite marshy here. So that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much for watching.